very good morning to you. Sir Rick, Drive Safe Dave, coming to you. Drive Safe Dave, a phenomenal weekend again of football in which, yes, folks, if you don't know it, there's a new number one in the country. Roll Tide, that's all I got to say, Drive Safe.
Yes, and I did not predict this win, and I'll tell you what, they smashed them and grabbed them, and they deserve to be number one after taking off the number one ranked team.
Yeah, number three, they beat number one, they get number one. It was really a debate, right, on should it be Michigan or should it be that Roll Tide team. I'm just going to say my money would have been on Georgia to win that game. I hadn't seen Alabama play like they played this week.
They came to the game.
They did come to the game, and now they play number 4 seed in the playoffs, Cincinnati.
Which is not a bad team. They've looked good all year, too.
Says anybody outside. Says nobody. You know what? We're going to see what this team's really made
all
of.
season.
They beat Notre Dame, and that's all they beat. Then they beat these other teams that just happen to play in the conference. But we're going to see, though, Drive Safe. Let's go with it. It's a 14-point game, I believe, is what the pick is between Alabama and Cincinnati. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Alabama.
All right. Well, they're not that great of a team. I'm saying if they cover that game, I don't know. I may stay away from that game. Then the second game is Michigan against Georgia, in which Georgia's the favorite to win that game.
I'm taking Georgia.
I think I'm going to give you my dark house. I've been talking about this for a couple weeks. My team to win the national champions right now. If you're going by Vegas, if you're driving by, if you want, maybe you're going to go out a route, it's the time to do it if you hear me out. Put your money on that Michigan team to win the whole thing.
No, I'm not going to do it. Look, outside the SEC, you look great. You're awesome. I mean, you play a lot of good ball, but once you get in and you got to play anybody else within the SEC, it can be anybody's game, especially when you're at the top. I'm taking an SEC team to win it. You got 2 SEC teams inside the top 4.
I get it. Only one team wins, though.
I know.
And only one team wins. Again, I'm just going to go that pick with you. Write it down. We did watch, there was some football played as well this weekend, some NFL football, but we're not really ready to talk about that, I don't think.
There's nobody playing this
All
weekend.
right, so let's talk about this right now. Producer, I know we have some stats out there, and for those of you that follow this supply chain crisis that's going on, which is probably most of you to some degree.
Everybody in the country.
Well, here it is out, though. I mean, because what we believe, and we've seen some numbers that say that port, it's working. Numbers are looking better at the port of Louisiana or L.A., Los Angeles.
It's all a lie. It's all a lie. They're not looking better, are they?
They are not looking better. So they came in there, Drive Safe, it's some kind of new safety and air quality area that extends 150 miles west of the ports and then 50 miles north and south of the ports that says, hey, you know what? We really don't want you in this zone in here because if you're in the zone, you affect that air quality. And so by default, only 40 ships are within the area. It looks, if you're sitting up there and you're looking out there at the ocean, you're only seeing 40 ships.
Not 77.
However,
yeah,
if you go just a little bit further, there's another 56 ships sitting out there waiting. And not to mention, listen to this, there's 31 of them sitting in the docks getting unloaded or getting reloaded, whatever they do out there. So you have 31 sitting, 40 right there within the area, and then just outside of the area that doesn't count when you're looking out there, there's another 56.
And also they're even slow rolling ships so that they don't burn as much fuel. They're just slow rolling them to the port across the Pacific so that they're not in any hurry to wait when they get there. So they're just taking their time. So there's actually more ships probably in totality that are headed this way that aren't really in a hurry to get here.
Yeah, and the problem with data, there is a problem when it's not accurate. When we look at these and we start celebrating, it's working. The 24-hour day saying it's doing it all, hoorah, hoorah. It's a lie.
It is
There's
a lie.
still the ships out there. And here's some more disturbing news that kind of pile up on top of that is that today, if we look at the warehousing across the country, warehousing vacancies are at 3.7%, the lowest they've been since 2002. 3.7%. In Southern California, 0.7% vacancy. So, it goes to the old thing is, I don't know where they're going to go. I mean, we'll put them in a warehouse. Some people say there's none available. There's no space available. And Drive Safe Dave, you can't just put one in a warehouse on overnight.
You can't. And what's scary is they're going to try to train that. They're going to try to move that. They're going to try to road that to other places because there's nowhere else to go. They're going to have to put it somewhere, and the only way they can put it is further out in California. And I'll tell you what, it is a mess coming. And if you haven't ordered your package, you're probably in a bit of a problem, right? Would you say that you might have? I looked at an overnight. I was trying to order something online, and it said, and that was this weekend, it said the best case scenario looked like December 19th.
Seriously?
December 19th.
Wow. That's unreal.
Yeah, and on top of that, UPS and I don't remember, USPS maybe as well, they both retracted their refund if your thing does not get delivered on time. Yeah. So if it's not getting delivered on time, that sucks. Not our fault. Sorry, should have ordered earlier. That's
FedEx has done the same thing. They suspended theirs during November all the way through January. Again, you know what? It's what we've been talking about. I mean, there's no service right now. And I think most of our people understand that. Again, when you go to a restaurant, you don't expect what you expected pre-COVID.
So I'll tell you, it's weird, and you know that they're having a problem getting the supply chain in. FedEx has not, they did remove their cap on Walmart and their biggest customers of how much they can bring in because they're like, just go ahead and bring it. We'll just figure it out.
I don't know where we're going to put it. I mean, there are no warehouses anymore. And going back to that warehousing.
Put it in the system.
So listen to this. And we've seen the inflation on the ships. So we've seen the inflation going across on pricing. We just have seen it everywhere. All of us have in fuel, you name it. So on the 5-year contracts on warehouse pricing, so the 5 years that are coming to an end right now, they are all seeing a 25% increase in that same space that they negotiated 5 years ago.
Wow.
25% increase on that same warehouse space. So
is that across the board?
That's across the board. Wow. That's just that's what's going to happen. Anybody on the 5-year contracts, again, so we're going 5 years ago, if you negotiated prices in, they are all seeing a 25% increase in rate.
Wow.
So the warehouse space is becoming valuable. It's space in general because it's not there. And guess what? It's costing more money to put those warehouses in there. And some people will say, well, that warehouse has been there for years. That, my friend, is supply and demand. If you're willing to pay it, then we...
Yeah, and also when you look at it, Sir Rick, over time, when you're talking about an annual and an increase, which we haven't seen in years, probably since the 80s, an increase in the rate of inflation, the dollar value is going down at a lot bigger number or a lot faster than what we're normally used to seeing, especially in our lives. And it's starting to happen at a greater speed. So over 5 years, if you're looking at, a 6% or 7% rate of inflation, that dollar value deflates.
Man, we are going to be back to you in about 60 seconds. We're going to talk a little bit about the volume going on, what we see with the outbound tender volumes. Back to you in 60 seconds. This is BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
You got to be prepared to stop, and when you look at that and you understand the situation that you're in, you got to know that it's going to change. You got to expect it to change,
and you can't run those lights.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today.
Your host of BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. If you don't already know about Freight Review, it's a segment I cover once a week where I analyze freight rejections, freight tenders, driver productivity, and much, much more. You can watch Freight Review on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live. Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive safe. As we've seen the volume, last week, I'll be honest with you, I got a little scared because the week before, we had talked about the volume last year, 15.8 after the peak season as far as tenders go. For those of you that are familiar with BCB Live, when we talk about the tenders, that's the amount of freight being sent over electronically, to carriers. So we had 15,800. We had the comeback last week, right? Because it's the week after the holiday we start seeing the freight. And lo and behold, we did make it to that 15,000 mark, just barely over. But I figured it would be somewhere between 14,900 and 15,000. We did it 15,000-ish, and the volume is very high. If we look at that next screen, Drive Safe Dave, you're going to see what it looked like last year. So that green is where we were last year. So not much volume has changed. There's a lot of ships sitting out at sea, much more so than a year ago, right? There's a lot of freight sitting out there, and now the question is will it fall like it did last year? This would be last year the peak week. This was the highest week of the year last year in Drive Safe. As we go into this week, the big question is, are we going to ship out more freight? Did we already peak out? Is it now going to start its way back down like it should? Or are the shippers really going to ship out? Drive Safe, what are your thoughts on that part?
I think because of the delay in shipping, I think because of the delay that we have out west and what we've got going on, I'm just going to say that I think it's going to be extended. I truly believe that it's going to be a more level, and at some point before we get to Christmas, as you well know, that's always a huge valley in the shipping. But I do think it's going to be a little bit more level.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think at the end of the day, freight's just going to continue to ship out, right? It's not going to jump, and I think we may not see the big dip we saw last year in the volume in the next couple of weeks. I think it'll kind of level out. What you're saying, we'll see the dip for Christmas and New Year's, and then we'll see it come back in January, in which we believe, again, to expect a very strong first quarter for next year.
Yeah, I think they got to refill the shelves. I mean, you look out there, not only but you got to refill the shelves out there, and you got to be able to get the supply out to the people. And also, all those ships, once they dump, when they eventually come in, and as they come in, they're still going to have to be at the supply chain in some capacity, no matter where they are.
Yeah, and when I spent some time talking to some shippers over the week, and some things that I just want to make sure that we're thinking of when we think about the supply chain. Well, for certain, we believe, and I say we believe, numbers really do show that the tonnage is down from last year. It's the tonnage isn't that high. And, on the full truckload carriers today, in general, what I would say is well, we don't care about the tonnage. We want it by the truckload, right? And so when you talk to a lot of the shippers, though, what we're hearing is this, and I'm hearing it more and more from different folks now, is that there's a lot of truckloads being shipped out today at 75% capacity.
Wow.
Meaning that they just can't keep waiting on the pieces. They can't wait for this logistics nightmare, so they have to ship out these loads half full, 3/4 full, whatever that is. So in general, I just say that once we can get this kind of leveled out, maybe that happens in January, February, by default, once the produce or once the product starts making it there eventually, well, the shippers are going to have to get a little bit smarter and start filling up these trailer loads of freight. And by default, that's going to reduce a lot of the truckloads that we see right now.
Yeah, if you have a lot and you got to put that 25%, you spread it over trucks, yeah, at some point you're going to have it. I'll tell you, they can't wait, right? And that's going to increase. And by default, it increases the price of the product that ships or the shipping cost, right? So right now, the shipping cost is driven up by hauling air. And no matter what you're doing, so they've got to figure out, and it always balances itself out at some point. I mean, they figure it out at some point because the cost of it is just too great.
Yeah, eventually I think I think the struggle right now is that there's just so many pieces missing, right?
Correct.
There's so many widgets that are missing, and they have to ship out these 3/4 truckloads. And again, once we get the ship thing figured out, and it sounds like we're a long ways from it,
Yep.
Unless we can put 36 hours in a day, maybe that's the answer. Until we get that part figured out, that chassis, that warehousing, and I think it's going to happen. Today, when you drive down any interstate right now, one thing for certain, you're seeing warehouses being built all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and they're not small ones. These are 1 million square foot facilities. So as these also begin to open up next year, then that will help alleviate some of the pain on the congestion.
Yeah, and it'll also level the market, because
Yes.
it
will help level the market.
Yeah, it'll help level the market as you add these more and more of these warehouses. It'll help level the market.
But again, I'm going to go out there and say it should be, it's going to take a little while. It's not going to happen overnight. I think 2023, as we start looking at 2023, I think it does start to change around that period there. I think the end of next year, around this time, the market will kind of be significantly more settled than it is today.
And as we sit here and we talk about it, let's be honest. It doesn't matter how many more warehouses you have and how many more ships you've got coming in or less ships. The number of trucks that hasn't changed dramatically in over time, right? I mean, it's going to be kind of level as we move through this. So that's still a limited supply of what you move and how you move it.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. If we continue again, we wonder about the new variant and what that's going to do to affect some of these other countries. One thing for certain, we look at the big trucks that are being built right now. That all of those companies, they've changed how they may have sold 1,400 trucks first quarter, but they're not going to be able to give those out, right? They're all on allocation. Everybody's gone to allocation.
You might get a truck.
Yeah, so allocation, it is what it is. So I think next year it's not going to change much more than it is this year. I just think it'll be a little bit more steady, a little bit more, maybe we can predict it a little bit easier next year. I think the data continues to get in there to say that, I think we have some pretty good trends where we know what to expect. Hey, drive safe. I do want to go back out, and I want to talk a little bit about this. And I don't know if you had a chance to read this or not. I'm talking about the WFA article on the Amazon driver that works for Triumph. Did you get a chance to look at that at all?
No, I
So here it is right here. I'll just kind of go into it because I want to talk a little bit more about this tomorrow and maybe throughout the week as we get into, and I'm going to first start with this right here. As we get into the chaos, right, of the holiday, it does things for all of us. It kind of can get us to, the anxiety gets up there. There's a lot of freight sitting everywhere.
Stress.
As dispatchers, as planners, as safety folks, sometimes there's so much freight that it can, and it's not making you, but boy, it feels like it's forcing you to make perhaps a bad decision.
Right.
Be in a hurry, get in a rush, do something like that. Well, here's the story right here, and again, we're going to talk a little bit about this because I think it's really driving into a lot of information. So the article goes about this. So Triumph Logistics is the third-party logistics for Amazon. So if you're not aware of this, when you see all those Amazon vans out there, they're not Amazon employees. They're contract employees. Right? They're contract employees that are pulling Amazon trucks delivering freight
And
with
vans,
Amazon
everything.
in it. So Hearn, the gentleman on here, he does have PTSD. He's out driving in East Texas, Terrell, Texas area. So he's out driving and he gets pulled over like 3 times in the day. And I'm gonna see if I have. So the first time he pulled over, he got pulled over for reckless driving. Then he drove over to a customer house to deliver the load. Then gets stuck in the yard. They call 911. The officer goes out there, gives him a breathalyzer text and all this, and he's fine. But he goes, man, any chance you have PTSD? And he goes, well, yes, but I haven't had it for years. So the officer still feels a little concerned, lets him go. There's no reason to keep him there. He gets him a ticket, goes down the road. Now he's in the wrong lane. The officer does, again, I believe, the right thing, pulls him over, gets on the phone with Triumph, the logistics company for Amazon, says, hey, somebody get here and pick this guy up and his van. He can't drive.
Right.
There's something wrong with him. He's impaired. Something's wrong. They come get him, bring him back to the place, to the Amazon facility and the van. And then they have a word for it, but they redispatch him in under another name. Okay, so now the guy's out delivering in another van under another name, goes out and delivers freight, doesn't get hardly any of them delivered, throws a lot of them away. They see it on the videos, comes back to the facility, turns his thing in, gets in his personal vehicle, drives for hours until he runs out of gas. Again, still kind of in that Terrell area. Crosses over 20 over the interstate there, struck and killed. And the family is going right at Triumph Logistics. It's going right after, I'm sure, Amazon for this right here. And it's absolutely tragic. And again, you know, we can't, first of all, we got to bring the human side into this element right here. If you're a dispatcher at any company, you're watching this right now, there's things that you hear that just doesn't, that leads you to believe that something can be wrong with your driver.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be impaired by alcohol or drugs. You can hear it in in the way they talk. And it could be COVID, right? It could be fatigue.
Right.
It could be anxiety. And you do have accountability and responsibility to make sure that you follow the right steps. Get HR involved, get your operations manager involved, get involved in the life of that person.
Absolutely. You need to take a personal accountability to anybody that you have an opportunity to. It's your responsibility. We are responsible to each other. No matter what happens, what goes on, we are truly responsible to the person that is next to us whenever we can. When you're out there on the road driving, you're responsible for the people that you're next to as you drive and the way you drive. Just like this story right here is amazing. You're responsible whenever you can to help the individual that's drowning or something that's going on. You do need to step forward and do something.
And this is where, and so you're saying the right thing, right? This is when you've got to do the right thing.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to. And that doesn't mean that the freight, that the trucks, that you have an open truck, right? Or you have a lot of loads sitting at the yard that have to get delivered. It's just across town. It's just across the street. It's just another load.
Doesn't matter.
You can't do, number one, you can't break the law.
Nope.
Number two, you just can't do that. I mean, at what point does life not take precedence over on-time service? At what time life, Dave, doesn't take precedence over making another delivery?
Yeah, and you know what? People, and I hear this story, not necessarily, sometimes you have to step in and save people even when they don't know it. Like right now, I'm sure the guy said, hey, I'm fine. Is there anything wrong?
Yep.
And I'm sure he said, no, I'm fine. When everything about it says he's not.
Great point.
You know what? You got to listen, because nobody wants to be embarrassed.
Yep.
Nobody wants to admit something that they're not able to do something, and nobody wants to admit something's wrong. And you know what? This is an opportunity. This is a lesson for all of us, right? As you talk about this is a genuine lesson for each of us to realize that we have to listen and notice when something is wrong. You'll know it when something's wrong. You'll see it when something's wrong. And sometimes it's just not right. You got to say something. You can't turn your head. You can't go, oh, well, you can't say, I'm too busy.
And it goes deeper than even this thing right here. I mean, this can go, and we can use this in an example, in many ways for an example.
Absolutely.
We can take weather as an example.
100%.
Right? There's ice out there on the road. There's windy condition. It's fog. It's bad information. Yes, the driver, you're saying I'm good. To your point there, I don't want to be the driver that's not running, because some of the guys I run with, they're out there running right now.
I see trucks rolling.
Yes, I see them out there. You, the company, you, the dispatcher, you, the safety manager, you've got to say, no, I'm shutting the area down.
Right.
And I tell you what, something else is that driver, you out there, you need to hear that as well. Because from a pride standpoint, driving safe, I want to be able to walk into that fuel aisle. I want to be able to walk in there and say, I can't run because my company, they banned me.
No.
But we're keeping the roads safe, whatever it is.
I'll tell you, it's a pride thing. Look, and I'll tell you, after years of driving and understanding that I've driven in snow and ice. Why? I mean, I get it. You've done it for years, but you know what? We did it wrong for years.
Yes.
Guys, we ran illegal for years. We ran on the clock. We did whatever we did because that's what was expected. And the times have changed. You have to make a difference in the industry. You have to make a new standard of what's going on out there. And it doesn't matter if you're a dispatcher, an operations manager, a driver. You have to realize times have changed. And if we want them to be better for everybody, you have to make a stand at that moment and say, you know what, it isn't right, right? And whether it's the dispatcher, the safety manager, you have to say, no, you know what? Look, I understand you want to run, but for right now, we as a group have made a decision that it's not safe to be out there on the road.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this show in any capacity, you are the ones that have that accountability to take care of yourself, number one,
Absolutely.
to take care of that situation.
Right.
That is your accountability. It doesn't matter if the dispatcher says, take that load and run it. If you know you can't do it safely, you don't do it.
It's hot.
You just don't do it.
It's hot, Rick.
Yeah.
It's a hot
You
load.
don't do it. You
It's a hot
don't do it. You don't do it. You have that ability to make a change. Drive safe. As we go into this area, we talk a little bit about this. You know, we can kind of reel this back into the Eyes on 94, right? That's going on this week from December 6th through 10th. December 6th through 10th, the Eyes on 94. That's going on in Michigan, Ohio, Illinois. Who am I missing? I'm missing one more state.
It's all along the I-94 corridor.
Indiana. Yeah, Thank you. Good job. So here we go. The Eyes on 94 is going on. And Drive Safe Dave, you know what? I'm not even going to ask you. Producer, tell me this. What do you think that they're looking for? We talk about it on the show. Give me an answer.
They, right now, are looking for things that are violations that could contribute to a crash. So distracted driving, driving too close, improper passing, speeding, improper lane use, all the
That's
things.
going on?
Yeah,
That's going on
crazy,
I-94?
right?
Man, don't we talk about those things every single day? Distracted driving. And we know what that is, right? That's you not paying attention. That's you being distracted in the chaos of your life. The distracted from that cell phone.
Yeah.
The distraction from, Netflix isn't running very strong right now. And I know some of you are saying, whoa, Rick, we don't watch. Some of you do.
You know what? Yellowstone can wait.
Thank you. Following too close, Drive Safe Dave. We see that all the time. And when you follow too close, bad things really will happen. We saw it last year in Fort Worth, and this is going back, I think it was back in 2015 when they had that accident in 76 trucks involved, 111, something like that, cars involved on that.
I'll tell you what we're talking about here and what
collision after collision after collision.
And what we're talking about here is we're talking about decisions being made by the driver, 100%. These aren't
cars, four-wheelers,
every
big
driver.
truck.
Yeah, it's just decisions being made by bad decisions being made by drivers out there on the road driving at a high rate of speed, driving too close, driving recklessly, weaving in and out of cars, not signaling when they lane change, doing everything that they can not to do it the right way.
Did you bring up improper lane change too? Driving in the wrong lane, improper lane. We've seen those as well. We get videos from you. We get videos from your companies that say, hey, look at this video here. Yes, passing on the shoulder.
Lane. We've created new lanes right there on the shoulder.
And again, man, we just talk about, we bring this to Texas, right? Hashtag in the street Texas. Over 21 years now of a fatality every day on a Texas road. Somewhere, car, four-wheeler, doesn't matter on that. As we go into this week right here, we do have the ability to follow these things that the Eyes on 94 are looking at, right? And because it's you, this isn't you thing. This isn't a me thing. You know what? That load may be hot, but only you cannot drive so close to the vehicle in front of you.
Absolutely.
That load can be hot, but only you can pass when you shouldn't pass. That's on you. You've got to make that decision to not engage in those aggressive acts. You've got to make that decision to not fall culprit. I'm going to have to go faster. And sometimes you follow so close, and yes, you've gained another 2 miles, but you're not going any faster than that vehicle in front of you. You're not getting any further.
Yeah, you got to be. This is an opportunity to go out there today and to drive it the right way, right? To do everything you can to be safe. And
just do it.
Just do it the right way.
Yeah, do it. Get out and look.
And by the way,
do it.
We talk about all these things, and remember, you're not in a hurry. You're just not in a hurry. Because anytime you tell yourself that I'm in a hurry, that means you're telling yourself you're late. That means you're also telling yourself you have an excuse to change the things that you do every single day and the good habits that you do. You don't. It does not give you a letter to say, hey, I'm in a hurry, so I don't have to use my turn indicator. I don't have to follow at a safe distance. I can weave in and out of traffic because I'm in a hurry. Because all those people that are doing that basically are telling themselves the same thing, and they're giving themselves a sense of entitlement to be able to make those stupid
Who's
decisions.
accountable for safety?
Every single person.
Every single person. Every one of us is accountable.
Absolutely.
Hold yourself accountable, and we can do this. Anytime there's an accident, somebody didn't hold themselves every time. Somebody didn't hold themselves accountable. We've got to do our part all the time, from the safety to the dispatching to the operation to the hiring. We've got to make sure we're making the safe decision on who we're putting up the butts in these seats as well, right? Who we're putting on the highway. We've got to make certain that we're making the right decision. Drive safe, Dave. It is phrase that pays time. Can you give it to us?
Yeah, absolutely. As we go it here we go. Let's post it up. The phrase that pays is take a tip from Little St. Nick. Never, ever make a lane change quick.
One more time.
Take a tip from Little St. Nick. Never, ever make a lane change
What's
quick.
that mean to us, sir?
That means be careful when you're changing lanes. Turn your indicator, signal to everybody around you. Let them know your intentionality. That way, as you move over, there is no surprises. They know your intention, and you know what's going on. Don't just yank it over there, because nobody knows what you're going to do at that last minute. Make sure they understand what you're having.
Buckle up, Bob's coming up next on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now, 21% of record freight being rejected. News
Down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong.
Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety.
One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection, yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. We are going to get you started off with a little bit of traffic. I know there was some accidents in the DFW area this morning, but again, we are going to see what you've got to deal with this morning. And you can kind of see the DFW area does have a lot of red running all over the place. Fort Worth looks pretty clean coming in, not so bad on the 35 South coming into the Fort Worth area. A little bit over here in Saginaw, there's a lot of construction up there as you get into these merge points for the 820 merge. So be mindful of that. Again, it does look like it's more on the eastbound direction as you come into the 820 loop over there at Fort Worth. The Dallas area has some pretty good slowdowns. I think the biggest one was this 20-minute delay somewhere up here by 635. It looks like it's moving a little bit better now. So you could see some 20 to 25-minute delays here on northern part of the loop and the southern part of the loop down here on the 20 part as you're hitting up here going east on the 20 there. So again, starting off our week, let's slow it down. Let's get that patience instilled into our thought process. Got to be patient, especially this time of year, especially during rush hour traffic. But as we move to Kansas City, wow, looks just great. I mean, there's hardly anything, folks. So again, keep it going. What you do is you can control the traffic behind you by slowing down. Yes, they're going to pass you, but they're going to start out at a slower speed. Really help control that around you, especially in work zones that you may come across. As we move up into the Chicago area, I believe is next. There we go. Again, Chicago looks pretty good. Remember, we talked about 94. They're going to be the eyes, right? Got a little thing on 65 coming up to that 80-94 merger near Hobart. Indiana. But coming in across the Indiana northern part there looks good. The loops all look really well this morning. Bolingbrook, that's a typical hot spot, looks good. A little bit of an issue here just north of Alsip. I'm not sure how to say that, and Oaklawn. So as you come up to 55 merge point, you could see about a 15-minute delay there. Otherwise, really looks great in the Chicago area this morning as you go. Atlanta, I guess, really looks a little bit better. The loop isn't completely bogged down. Just a little section here, and it's a lot of orange. So you're going to see that 15, 20-minute delay here, just north of the 20 and 285 merge points. And again, up here, Sandy Springs always has an issue. So again, a lot of congestion up there. But again, it looks in the 15 to 20-minute range. And the rest of the loop looks pretty good. A little bit of a 10 or 15-minute slowdown out here on the 20 and 285 on the west side of Atlanta merge point, and a little back up here as you come into approach Douglasville. Otherwise, Atlanta, you look as good as you've ever looked for a while. So again, patience in Atlanta, please. Philadelphia's got a lot of red this morning, so we're not so lucky in Philadelphia. It looks like a lot of spotty stuff, so nothing looks like major. The biggest one looks here, right here on 95, both directions, but mainly coming south towards the city. We've got a major backup all the way out here from this airport, all the way down to the edge of the city along the river. So again, be slow or be patient or be slow. Increase your space. It's going to take a lot to get through that. We got a little bit of a congestion here in Belmar on the New Jersey side. And then, of course, the turnpike isn't as quite as bad coming into the city either. So, again, not too bad. Just some hot spots that seem to have fired up this morning, probably due to some accidents. So, again, slow it down. Increase your space, right? Pack your patience, folks. Pack your patience. Nashville area. Nashville, the loop looks pretty good, except for down here by Berry Hill. We got some major, looks like a 20 to 30-minute delay. 24 is not backed up as it usually is. It is still an issue, but not as long. So, again, maybe it's just getting started. But, again, be careful coming up from the south east as you're heading north in the Nashville area. But, again, we're going to have some trouble. It looks like right here by Berry Hill. Let me zoom in there. There we go, 440. Right here, all the way back to 24. So you got Woodbine, Berry Hill. As you come up to Cherokee Park on 440, you could see some delays. Coming in from the west, a little bit of a 10-minute delay there near West Meade, Tennessee. So be careful there as you come into the Nashville area this morning. As we look into our Baltimore, D.C. area, it doesn't look just all that bad. I mean, it just looks like normal. Yes, there's a lot of red, but it's not as bad as it has been. Again, the typical hot spots all the way here on the northwest side of Baltimore from Towson, just west of Towson, all the way down to Pikesville, Lockern, right? The rest of the Baltimore area looks pretty good. A little bit here on 295 South Laurel as you get into the D.C. area. But the loop looks pretty good in D.C. A little bit of a problem here on the northbound lanes in Annandale. And then, of course, the westbound lanes up here by Silver Spring also has an issue at all the merge points. And then 66 coming in from Centerville, you could have some issues there. Again, they look to be in that 20 to 15-minute range. So just be patient. Realize that you're going to get through it. It's not as bad as it seems. I think that's the biggest thing. We think we're going to lose as more time than what we actually are, or that we're going to save more than we really do. It's just not that bad. It just feels like it. So pack your patience. As we go into the Indianapolis area, Indy looks great. I mean, do I see any red? No. 70 looks great. I'm just sitting there. There's just little spots on these secondary roadways where you got stoplights and stuff, so you might see something there, but the loops all look good. 465 looks great, even down here where it's been a problem at Beech Grove. 70 passing through, nothing blocking you there. So, hey, keep that going today in Indianapolis if you're headed that way. Terrific job. All right, the story for today is going to be wind, folks. It is supposed to lighten up, but you can see it stretches all the way from Pennsylvania. There is a band of wind and everything behind it. Now, so far, what we're seeing is the 35 mid-30 range gusts. So as we hit here, right here on Texas, there's a 31 mile per hour gust reported. Out here by Memphis, 30. So again, folks, it just requires 10 miles slowdown, right? The gusts are bad. They are expected to, let's see, as we get into 2 p.m., you can kind of see they die down a little bit in Texas, but they really hit the northeast here. Let's kind of clear some of that. But again, they're predicting Detroit could see some mid-40s. We don't need to run. If you get in that Great Lake area, you can kind of see that's where it's all going to be. South of the Great Lakes, you're going to be in that mid-30s. So again, you'll be able to run, but you just got to slow it down, right? The wind is going to magnify any force that you got in curves. And so if you're heading the wrong direction or just take a curve the wrong way and a gust of wind comes up, it will lay you over. And again, that's what we're trying to protect your life, right? And you can do that just by slowing down 10 miles an hour. You can help yourself. Pay attention. Them curve speeds are for cars, right? Get under that speed when you see them signs. Pay attention to your signs. Now, the other thing we got coming up, let's just go ahead and show you the new snow because it kind of gives us the next 3 days first. You can kind of see it. Colorado, a little bit of a trace up here in the northeast. But when we hit the next 5, boom. Now you can kind of see what you're going to see here as the Denver area really zooms in. They're going to be looking at that 6 to 10 inches of snow west of the Rockies here. And as we show you the precipitation, let's zoom out to, I think it's going to start to come in about Wednesday. There we go. And then once we hit Thursday, there it is. So you can kind of see all that snow starts popping up in Nevada, Utah, Denver, up here in Green Bay. The rest of the country looks good. And then when we get to Friday, we start seeing this thing just band out through Nebraska, Iowa, right? Now, they aren't talking about a whole lot of accumulation, so it should be just some nuisance snow, if you will. But it's something we want to watch as the week progresses. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with some safety.
Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation, over the nation, in the world, in this galaxy. This is the safest station. Drive safe, you agree?
I think it's absolutely the safest station in the nation.
Let's go galaxy. I mean, is there a safer station in this galaxy?
I just haven't checked all the stations yet in the galaxy, but I'm going to go with you, Sir Rick. If that's what you want to go with, in this galaxy, the Milky Way, we'll just put the Milky Way sign up there and just make sure it's us.
I like it. Low ground clearances. Before we hop into safety, give us some examples. What are we talking about here?
That has me confused.
What is low ground clearance? Low ground clearance is when
I thought it was Kike.
Yeah, it is a vehicle that has that is lower to the ground and is susceptible to high rises on stuff. So you got to be very careful on specific vehicles that have a low ground clearance because they can get stuck high center. So you just got to be sure. You just got to be careful. That's what low ground clearance
All
is.
right, we do appreciate that. Buckle up, Bob. What are we talking about this week with safety?
We are going to talk about safe lane changes, and we're going to talk about some things that you don't realize. A lot of things, safe lane changes, sometimes it's decisions. I heard you made it before. What causes it? You've talked about things that lead up to the quick lane change. And the first one is tailgating. We see it in the videos, right? A driver comes up, has their space, but doesn't slow down. And as the space shrinks, they time it, and then they jump out for the quick lane change. So tailgating is a big cause of some quick lane changes. So you've got to just recognize that and say, hey, as I'm gaining on this vehicle in front of me, I have to stop the speed, slow the speed down, keep the space until the lane change. And one of the big things we see a lot in these videos is the lane change still happens approximately the same place on the highway, because you hurry up and get up there. Now you have to wait, right? And you end up, if you'd have just slowed down, you'd have made that lane change approximately the same place anyway. You don't lose what you think you're going to do. So we really need you to focus on don't tailgate. That will lead you to allow you to make the safe lane change.
Yeah, and we show a lot of videos on here. And so when I hear what you say, that a safe lane change, well, oftentimes it's the exact opposite on what we're showing on here. We want you to if we say you're following too close, well, don't follow too close. When you switch lanes at the last second, those are one of those habits we want you to get out of. Plan that left-hand lane. Plan that a little bit earlier. Tailgating from the vehicle in front of you to that next vehicle, it doesn't make it any easier to drive safe when you switch lanes and now you're following that vehicle right there at a second behind them.
Yeah, when you prepare yourself for a lane change, if you're very close to the vehicle in front of you, especially a big truck, you've limited your visibility on what's going on ahead and what you can see and what you can predict of what's happening out there. Because you don't want to jump out into a stop lane at 65 miles an hour. So you want to make sure that you can see, by holding yourself back and giving yourself a better view, you can actually make a better lane change.
Correct. And speaking of some videos that we're going to watch, we're going to see some really good ones today. Again, not sure what's going on with his Walgreens trailer, but again, early in the morning, if I know your situation, this is about 3:20 in the morning, right? And great job by this driver recognizing it. And then the driver comes up, no turn signal, right? We're going to talk about that, making lane changes, of how critical that is. But there's just, I don't see any flashers, no turn signal going on there.
Okay, so look right after this. You can see the truck to the left has his brakes on. Something may have occurred because we can't see what's happening. Something may have occurred, but with this other truck, and this truck is just avoiding the similar situation. So as you notice, this truck moves over quickly, but you'll notice the brake lights are on that big truck to the left of it. Something may have occurred between these two trucks, or something else may have happened we couldn't see.
Gotcha. Yep. Didn't see anything in the roadway, but you're right. Something could happen between them two. Here we got a little bit of another good job, right? Debris in the road. Driver sees it. We don't see it. The driver sees it, apparently, gets over and makes a nice safe lane change. And then as you come up here, you're going to see some debris in the road in the right lane, and then a little bit right there in the lane that the driver got in. So, again, great job. Look at the space here, and really great speed. 55 miles an hour, had slowed it down. Just a terrific job. This is that defensive driving we kind of talked about last, and then it turned into a really nice, smooth lane change as well. Again, we got to pay attention to the lines, folks. And again, great job by this driver. Look at it. This is why not tailgating is so critical. This driver was able to react to an illegal maneuver by another vehicle without any incident, right? Not even a close call, no hard brake, no nothing. And it all started with the decision to stay well behind this vehicle.
Yeah, Drive Safe talks about the box trucks. Not a big fan of the box trucks as Drive Safe, Dave, because they many times don't have the same training that the big truck driver has, right?
They're classic.
Box truck, big truck, sounds a lot alike, but they're really not. Sir Rick could be in here driving this box truck right now.
Yeah, this straight truck right here that does this illegal change, it may not have the experience, also may not have the certification that a big truck driver has in a Class C license.
This next one is so critical about being prepared to stop. Almost led to a bad decision, but the speed was controlled. We're still tailgating, right? But you got to make sure you're able to stop. And we think about jumping out, but there's another vehicle in that lane, so just a great job. Still see the road. Remember, first thought has to be stop and stay in my lane, because you don't want to make the situation worse by getting into somebody else's lane.
Yeah, and I think the first thing has to be, if traffic stops, can I stop in my lane? And I think that's a key thing. And again, if you're counting out loud, you know that you're gaining on this car, or that you're too close to begin with anyway. Yeah. You've got to back it up. So when this happens, you're not thinking about going that right-hand lane.
That's right. You take that out of the equation. And I think what helped, this driver was doing 38. And you can see this is a major interstate. So great job And another critical reason why we talk so much about speed and space. Yes, we're still tailgating, but it's 38 miles an hour allowed this driver to almost make a bad decision, but still had the time to correct it because of the speed.
So at 38 seconds drive safe, Dave, how much space does this big truck need?
It still needs its good 3 seconds. It doesn't matter. We're going to talk about timing. We're not going to talk about distance. We're going to talk about time, because time is relative in all matters. So if it's 3 seconds at this speed gives you the same basically safe distance as it's going to give you.
Yeah, we're almost 2 seconds right here. And just think about if you had another second.
Absolutely.
You know, just think about the space if you have one more second.
And if you look at the situation and as you're talking about 5 lanes of traffic. You're definitely in a metropolitan area. You're not out there on the open road. You're actually running in an area where there's going to be stoppages, and you're going to incur these at a pretty frequent rate when you're in this kind of. There's a reason there's 5 lanes of traffic, right, Sir Rick? I mean, they don't just put those out there because it's your driveway.
I've never seen one going through Enid, Oklahoma.
No, you haven't.
I think that's the biggest thing about these videos and just the statistics we've seen and showed on the show is how much 1 second can make a difference. You know, you just don't think it in our everyday life, but probably more than anything in driving a commercial motor vehicle, 1 second can make a huge, huge difference. And I think that's the one that's really sad to me, because I just think life and our general society says, well, 1 second, what's the deal, right?
It's 100 feet.
But it's a lot in driving.
And drive safe. When I look up on this as well, I see that yellow sign up at the very front, right up there on the right-hand side, that exit only, these signs here.
Oh, yeah.
And that tells you that somebody's going to make a last-second decision and cut in front of you from the left lane, going to move 3 lanes over to the right lane. And that's also what creates the backups, because people they get crazy on those areas right there. Which lane do I go into? Do I stay in those lanes that are colored? You know, it's pretty simple to me. It says left lane or exit right lane, right 2 lanes. Well, stay in the right 2 lanes if you're going to exit. And if you're 3 or 4 lanes over, you're too far.
Yeah, and as we look at this, I'll tell you, everything is okay in this video. Is the only thing that you want to do is make sure that you can manage that space in front of you right now, in front of you all the time. That's your area to control, no matter anything else that's going on. And no matter what's happening in the left lane, the right lane, in front of you, whatever, that area right there between you and the next vehicle, that's yours to control. And by doing what you need to do and counting out the seconds or whatever it is, especially in these situations, control that area, because that's the area that you have to stop.
Great point. You know, we talk all the time about leaving an out, right? And you do want to leave several outs, but you don't want to you got to focus on that out in front of you, which is being able to stop. That's got to be your first out, not the lane next to you, left or right. You've got to be prepared to be able to just stay in your lane and stop. That's your first out.
Absolutely.
Next one, pay attention to the signs. Stop sign, yep. Looks like a busy intersection. And again, just a great job here of pay attention to signs. Can see the pavement as you stop, well back. Busy intersection. Good job there. It looks like it's a little windy. See some leaves blowing across the window there as well. But just a good job about obeying the signs, right, and that are coming up, that we have a sign. Because we've seen videos where that sign is either missed or ignored.
What does that say?
Well,
cross
that sign,
doesn't stop. Is that what that says? Cross traffic doesn't
if
stop.
this sign gets missed or ignored, we got a rear end also coming on.
But this last one, again, wow, we talk all the time about how much the industry, drivers, what you can control the industry and give yourselves and the industry a good name. Look at the patience this driver shows. Let 3-4 cars in. Just realizes not going anywhere. It's not safe to make a lane change here. It's just too busy. So just stay here and be patient. Pack their patience, plenty of it. Several suitcases full of patience here as you're just letting the drivers in. Terrific job by this driver. Wins the courtesy award this morning. Just a terrific job.
Yeah, there's no doubt that driver had a cooler packed of patience also right there. Great job on that. And it's one thing we want to make sure we do is, especially if you're in that right-hand lane, those cars are going to, one way or another, they're going to get in front of you.
Yeah.
Either you let them in or they're just going to hop in front of you. But just do the right thing. Back it off. Have patience. All you saw were lights on them. I mean, you had the lights coming your way and the red lights going your way, and you just know that you're not going anywhere too fast.
Yeah, if you're going to be in the merge lane in a multi-lane traffic, and especially in a metropolitan area like that, you're going to have to encounter merging traffic and exiting traffic on a regular basis. Also, people wanting to get over at the last minute to get in. So that right lane, if you have multiple lanes, try to be in the lane position number 3 or lane position number 2 if you have to. If you're going to go ahead, putting yourself in number 4 always makes it very difficult, especially in those merging lanes when you have 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, for certain.
Spoiler alert, that is the number one advice to avoid lane change accidents. Just stay in your lane. Great job by that driver.
Through that, if we have any callers out there, I'd like to hear what you're seeing out there on the road. We have a few minutes here. You know, what are you seeing? A little bit more chaos right now inside the big city? You probably are. Are you seeing it in the big trucks, the cars? What are you seeing out there on the road? Because I think, you know, Drive Safe, one thing for certain is they can hear us talk about it, but I think sometimes it helps it when they hear their fellow drivers out there talking about it. Would love to hear from you. If you can, raise your hand. Give us an idea of what you're seeing. Then also, what is it that you do to get yourself back in that safety zone, right? Because something's got to make you get back into that zone.
Mine starts
That's a
with
great
coffee.
point.
That starts with the coffee.
Couple Folgers. Couple Folgers of Pepsi. Pepsi and a hot dog.
Yeah, Pepsi and a hot dog.
Pepsi and a hot
That's
dog.
the safety zone formula for success right there. It's Pepsi and a hot dog.
So what would you do to get back into that zone when somebody just cuts you off and you're angry as angry? And it can be a big truck, it can be a four-wheeler, it can be a camper. I don't care. What got you back into your zone of that safety zone,
And honestly, a lot of the times and over the years, I found a calming method for me. It was that sometimes I'd just say a small prayer for that person and myself at that moment. Quickly, just say a quick prayer. I know it's not for everybody, but for me, that's what helped me calm down all the time was a quick prayer.
All right, producer, who do we got?
Yeah, we got Cowboy on the line. What do you got for us, sir?
What's going on, Cowboy?
Morning.
Should be able to
What's
unmute
up,
your
Leroy?
mic there, Leroy.
All right.
Well,
At least no wind noise.
I know, right? No noise at all. Hey, we appreciate that feedback there, Leroy. And yes, sir, we agree with what you said. But Drive Safe, I think we see it in our cars too. Is that, you know, something still has to trigger in us to slow down, right. to back off. And today, even coming into work here, I caught myself counting just to see how many seconds I was behind that car in front of me, because sometimes they still get in your way, and I know the speed limit's 30, but can't you go 32?
If you're in a four-wheeler, everyone's in your way. I mean, it's just everyone is in your way. If you're in a four-wheeler, your mindset, you've been trained, you've done it for years, everyone's basically in the way when you're in a four-wheeler and you're trying to either figure a way to get around, to pass, or to basically get annoyed at anybody that's out there in front of you.
Hey, what we want to make certain today is when you're out there driving that you slow that chaos down to yourself, and that's to yourself mentally. Make sure that you're aware that to yourself, that self-conscious, it says, people are going to cut me off today. I'm going to fall behind today. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a truck at the fuel island, and he's not going to be in there, and then he or she's going to be in there showering while they're in the fuel island. It's going to put me behind, and it's going to make me angry. And what we want you to do is slow down. Settle down for a minute. We're in a very chaotic season. Let's get through today and make today the safest day ever. And then, you know what? We can worry about tomorrow. But you can right now, if you follow them too close, you can slow down. You can get off the tail right now, but it's going to require you to do that. We're going to be back this afternoon at 2 o'clock. We're going to close with a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, today we just ask you for patience for all of us. Give us that wisdom to also acknowledge when we're being impatient, when we're following too close, when we're creating an unsafe environment, Lord, and just give us that ability to back it off just a little bit. Help us realize it quicker. Help us make decisions quicker. Thank you for always protecting us, and protect us today. Man, if we ever want to get through this 21 days, we need your help. This 21 years of fatalities in Texas. It's going to take your hands in, and we ask you for that help. Watch over us. Help us stay safe. Be with us during this chaotic time. Thank you for all that you do for us. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Everybody, we'll see you this afternoon. God bless. Stay safe out there on the road. This is BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.